Hello there. What is going on, everyone? Today we're going to be talking about all of the new changes to Legion that were just announced this Friday, the rules reference guide updates, a lot of the Errata changes, and all of that. I am a little late coming to you guys with this video, but better late than never. I've kind of already explained, I think in my last live stream, what was going on. So to everybody who's reached out to me, I thank you so much for your concerns. I'm doing much better. So with all that said, let's just jump right into it. Also, the giveaway is still going on. That's going to run throughout this next week, and towards the end of the week, I will be announcing the winner at the end of one of my videos. So if you want to have a chance to win a $25 Amazon gift card, you just have to be a subscriber, leave a comment on this or one of my videos. So with that being said, let's go forth and talk some more Legion. There's been a lot of Legion. I think most of my videos lately have been Legion related. There's just been so much Legion news lately. It's been getting kind of the lion's share of the news. And this video is no exception because, wow, so Tauntauns nerfed, and also, kind of Shore Troopers, but I don't really think so. So basically, the big changes to Shore Troopers and Tauntauns, they did not want to do like hard erratas. So basically they changed the rule for the creature troopers where now if you're engaged, you have to withdraw and spend basically your full action, a full activation of actions on your withdraw. So you can do that one speed maneuver to withdraw, which was a big change from how Tauntauns would just kind of come in, move, wreck everything. Now you can still move and displace, but if you end your move engaged, it's going to basically, you're not going to be able to just run right through and then run through more and just basically kind of be bowling for rebels or bowling for Imperials or something like that quite so easily. It doesn't. I don't think it neuters the Tauntauns. I don't think they're completely dead. It does limit their kind of runaway craziness a little bit, and at the same time, I feel like it doesn't really hurt dewbacks very much, because I think for the most part, a lot of people were using weapons and shooting at ranged attacks with the dewbacks more so than meleeing, whereas the Tauntauns are a little bit more affected by this particular change. By the way, I'm going to put a link to the rules reference as well, so you guys can check that out in the description below, because the new rules reference guide is pretty good. It's got a lot of information, so it's not just these nerfs. I'm going to kind of touch over some of the highlights from the rules reference guide as well. So, Tauntauns, big change. Shore Troopers got a change. Technically, it's in a change to emplacement troopers, but basically they changed comms relay, and comms relay now cannot go on emplacement troopers. And the reason why this is kind of, in some ways, a nerf to Shore Troopers is because the two most popular, I guess, kind of build ideas for the Empire is Shore Trooper gun lines, and then for the Rebels is triple Tauntauns. And one of the key aspects of the Shore Trooper gun line is having Shore Troopers with their mortar, and the mortar would have the comms relay. So you would give an order to a Shore Trooper, then they would pass it to the mortar, and then that mortar would then pass it to the next Shore Trooper, who that would pass it to the mortar, that would pass it to the next Shore Trooper, would pass it to the next mortar. And sometimes people would run 3 Shore Troopers with 3 mortars. Sometimes people would run 2 with 2 mortars or something like that. But it was just a way for you to kind of mirror the droids persona, in that you just start an order chain, and then all of a sudden, plus it's a bonus for those shores, because at the same time, all of the shores get aims when they get those orders, and so it was just kind of allowing for a lot of token shenanigans that the Empire wasn't really meant to have. And so and they even talk about in this article, they were like, we kind of knew about this the way that this would work from playtesting, but I think the competitive community has kind of taken this and stood it on its head and kind of taken it to extremes that has kind of distorted the original intent for something like this. So I think originally it was something like, they probably expected, oh, okay, I'll get 1 extra order out there. But no, we can chain it. And now all of a sudden, almost everything has orders. And, I can see that that's it. And the thing is, it wasn't just the mortars. I mean, technically, rebels could do this too. But the rebel veterans, which also could do the same thing, weren't as widely used, and also didn't have that range for attack. So I guess they probably weren't seen as that much of a threat, which is kind of interesting. Alternatively, this also is something that you could have done if you wanted to take out the mortars and run like E-webs or FD turrets. That's another option that you could have done with this as well, but then now you're not going to be able to do that anymore, which is fine. Comms relay, I don't know how much use it's going to get now. I feel like this is the more significant nerf, but I am happy. Are not happy, but I'm less impacted by this particular change because in my eyes, I liked to keep the order on the emplacement troopers, at least the ones that come with the Rebel troopers and the Rebel veterans, because fire support is so very good for those particular units, especially with the mortar having up to range 4. I had all kinds of janky lists planned where I would have Commander Darth Vader use his saber throw and then get his fire support. Now I've got a Pierce 3 with fire support and critical 1, which Vader didn't have critical on his attacks anyway, and so like all kinds of cool little shenanigans like that I've been kind of toying around with, and none of the builds that I use really use comm relay. I'm aware that it's something that gets used competitively quite a bit. It's just not in my current manifesto of builds, and part of that hinges from the fact that I don't play quite as competitively. I certainly have attended my share of tournaments in this past 6 months or so, but but maybe that's why I don't go 3-0. Maybe that's why I go 2-1 most of my tournaments. I usually do fairly well though. But I guess there's something to be said if you're not playing the hard meta as much. A lot of the changes that the hard meta will see might not affect you as much. So there's pros and cons here. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. Were your lists really affected by these two changes, or maybe not so much? There are a couple of other cards that are seeing some changes just for clarification purposes, like Commanding Presence. I think before I just said you can issue orders at range 4, and there was probably somebody that said, wait, that means you can't issue orders at 1 through 3. And I'm like, no, it's just giving you an extra. So for capability's sake, they just clarified that one. And then Wedge is just giving you that free pivot as a free action. And there you go. So that much is nice. I like that they just don't say I think it said 360 before, but yeah. So it's just they're just keeping kind of things streamlined a little bit. As far as the actual rules reference guide, it has definitely seen some interesting stuff. So we're going to kind of run through it a little bit and talk about it. Again, this is going to be posted in the description. But all the highlighted parts, if you go to the updated rules reference guide, you can have all the highlighted parts in blue. And of course, they're going to be linked, they're kind of the new entries are going to be shown right at the top. But if you're reading over this, the new stuff is going to be generally in blue. So you'll see like a new paragraph that's in blue, something like that. That's something that has changed, and it doesn't mean it's changed significantly. In some cases, like there's just a slight wording error that's changed or whatever. Anytime something is changed or clarified, you'll find it there. There's a lot here on margin of error. Margin of error here is really they're like talking about. A lot of this has to do with miniatures and like the frame. Like they're talking about you can't like one of the things that this is all dealing with, like if you have a notched base, like the space in the notch is still considered like part of your profile. So you can't, like, some people would try to land a mini like to where a part of their notch was inside the gap in your notch. So now you couldn't pivot because you'd be moving through their base. Like you can't do that stuff anymore. If you would go to pivot, but like the tail on your dewback is going to hit something else or whatever, they're like, just pretend like the miniature's not there. Like it shouldn't impede your ability to actually like move the base. So this is, and a lot of this stuff is just like, do things within reason. There's a whole lot there. I'm not going to read over all of it, but it's actually really good stuff. And it's, I like margin of error. What they're talking about there is basically just kind of play cool. Stop trying to game the system and be like, oh, well, this is also going to, I think, have a big thing when they come up with the new line of sight. There's a new line of sight rule somehow coming. A lot of us think that they're going to be using some type of profile, maybe a new tool or a new stand-in, or maybe just grabbing a mini from the core set or whatever. But basically every mini is going to have the same profile of the same size. So like every Trooper mini is going to have the same profile. So you can build your dudes however you want. You don't have to worry about Luke's lightsaber being too high and having to worry about like little corner cases, trying to make things a little more streamlined. And I feel like that's going to factor in quite a bit with this. There's a lot of other stuff here. There's something with the beam. Let's find beam. I want to find beam because the beam attack that's coming on the new tanks, which actually should be out very, very soon. I think mine are shipping, so hopefully they'll get here really soon. But beam is one thing that was clarified on beam that I want to point out. You have all the stuff for beam X right here on page 19, but there was some confusion on whether or not you could do fire support on beam. Now, I didn't have any question because the beam keyword clearly states only this weapon for those subsequent attacks that you would make with beam. But and I think Luke Eddy in the live stream said you couldn't fire support. But then there was something about Alex Davey telling somebody that you could, and it wouldn't be the first time that they just get confused. Sometimes the question is posed in a particular way, like maybe he thought the first attack could you fire support. I don't know. But so like that's why I'm like, well, let's just wait and see what the RRG says, because sometimes Luke and Eddie say two conflicting things. Or Luke and Eddie, Luke Eddie and Alex Davies sometimes will say two conflicting things, and a lot of it is like kind of gets twisted because they're human beings, and sometimes people ask you a question, and in the context you thought they were talking about something else. So you catch somebody off guard. Sometimes they misspeak. But either way, I didn't hear Alex Davies say anything about the fire support, so I really don't know what was actually said or how the question was asked. But now we have clarification that you cannot fire support on the subsequent attacks of the beam weapon. So the first attack, sure, but it's those extra attacks. You can't be doing that. There's some stuff about bomb carts in here, which is pretty cool. This is like their payloads, and they're gonna probably be part of the new obstacles that are some of the new missions and objectives and stuff that are coming in that next pack, which is gonna be awesome. I can't wait for those. Let's talk about bounty a little bit, not being able to cross over with secret missions. So if R2D2 gets his secret mission and a bounty hunter kills him, doesn't get to take that victory point token. So like the two aren't going to cross over. I think there was some question about that. A lot of other little things in here. What's the next thing? Covert Ops. Let's find Covert Ops, because that's something else that I wanted to talk about that was in here I thought was pretty interesting. Because that's one of the things I think that is coming with Iden Versio and also with Cassian Andor. And I had a question about Covert Ops that this one answered handedly. And my question was basically, if I've got a single commander, it's Iden Versio, and at the beginning of the game I decide to say that she is going to be an operative. Now, at the beginning, pre-deployment, I have no commander. Do I still have to wait until the very end of the round? Because that would make me very vulnerable to, like, Krennic's 3 pip or something. Now I've got suppression everywhere. So there's things like that. That had me worried a little bit. And with Covert Ops, if you deploy them as an operative, you pick another commander immediately. But the commander, I believe it actually says... when a unit uses Covert Ops to change its rank to operative, if there's not another unit with the commander rank in that player's army, that player must immediately promote a unit with the rank of Corps or Special Forces to the rank of Commander. Place the Commander token near that unit and remove their order token from the game, replacing it with the Commander order token, which is very cool. So I love this. I love this because... this is going to allow some janky list building, because you can basically build commander list units now. I mean, you'd have to have run Iden as a commander. So I really thought that was pretty cool. No, I like this. And I also believe that with Covert Ops, this can allow you to have 3 operatives. Because you're building the army with only 2 operatives and 1 commander in theory. If you wanted to run like Iden, Versio, Boba Fett, and Bosk, I don't see anything in here that's stopping you from doing that, which is kind of cool. There's a new keyword called, there's some stuff for all the keywords that we've already seen, which you'll find in blue. Another one I want to talk about is expend. I thought expend was pretty interesting. Expend is something that I think you're going to see on the new supply cards that are coming with the the new card expansion that's going to have your... Here, let me find it. It's expend. Expend. Down here, you get a little X for the expend icon. And this is basically a once per game ability, and you flip it completely upside down. Now, this is interesting because I expect this to be on like those supply cards that, basically you're gonna have this new supply cache where you can get like med packs and things like that. It almost turns, it's like something you would see out of. It reminds me of Imperial Assault a little bit. I'm like, oh, I've got a stim pack. Oh, I've got once per game things that you can potentially find in a cache. But the way this is written, expend could show up on other just regular cards. Like that's a way for them to give you a really powerful upgrade and limit how much abuse you can put into it. I love the idea of expend once per game abilities. Just instead of tapping the card sideways, you turn it completely upside down to show that the card has already been used. In the past, a lot of us would just say, well, let's just flip a card over. Like that's what I've done for other games. Like Armada has this whole you exhaust. And I think X-Wing too. It used to be like when a card is done, you just flip it over. But expend is nice. Also, in case for some reason you have like a double-sided card too, just flipping it upside down is useful, especially if you need to remember, like, okay, I used this, but for the rest of the turn, I need to be able to reference the text on this card. So so I like that we have expend as a keyword now. I think that's pretty cool. So we also have hover ground and hover air, which is all new. Well, let's talk about hover ground and hover air. We got some of the hostage cards. We're going to see hostage cards in there. Hover ground and hover air, two totally new keywords, and I love everything about it. My guess is that this is talking about the stab. The stab, because all right, it's not confirmed yet, but it was that part of that leak. Everybody who's paying attention has probably seen the rumors that were leaked out of France a while back about upcoming units that were coming, and one of them was the Stap. So that's basically the droids riding the little, I don't know, like the stand-up motorcycle thing, the Segway kind of thing. So basically a droid speeder. And so it looks like they're going to have a new hover keyword, hover ground and hover air. And this is just talking about the difference with hover ground and hover air. And hover air it basically allows you to have a speeder that doesn't have to do compulsory moves and still lets it do a lot of the speeder stuff. Like hover air will have like a number, and that's like how high up it can hover. One thing I think that's really, really cool about hover air is that it's paved the way for you to have like helicopter units that are in place but don't have to move very fast. And there's one that I could really think of that would be awesome right now. And I don't know why I'm doing weird voices, but that's the LAT, right? I mean, a LAT would be real big, but if it's way up in the air, I've said for a while, you can make it smaller. You can make really big vehicles, especially if they're in the air. You can make them smaller because it's kind of like they're so far away. Like troops on the ground looking up at a LAT are going to see a tiny little thing because it's so far up above, right? So I think you can get away with cutting the scale for aircraft because they're so far up in the air that they're going to look smaller anyway. That's the idea. That's the idea. That's my guess. That's what I hope for. And so I've got all kinds of crazy theories. So I won't get into too many theories. I'm saving that. I'm actually working on a new show right now called the Double Critical, and I'll have more of an announcement for that later. But it's going to deal with wish list and theory crafting. And wouldn't it be cool if, boom, for example, wouldn't it be cool if there was a double critical, a surge to double crit? Right, if you want to make somebody like Darth Maul, maybe he should have surge to double crit because he's got a double-edged lightsaber. I don't know. That would be cool, right? So that's some of the stuff we'll talk about in that show, but that's still in the works right now. All right. So what else we got? We talked about hover. Incognito is another ability. I think that's pretty cool. We're talking about incognito a little bit. Let's see. Where is incognito? It's in here. I'm missing there. Incognito. So some units, and incognito is kind of cool, and I think this is one of the things that Padme is getting, but it's just a way for you to basically not be able to be attacked by anybody else until you break the incognito, or unless you get within range 1 of an enemy unit. As long as you're beyond range 1, they can't shoot you, you're not there, unless you do something, unless you either attack or interact with like I'm gonna, touch the moisture evaporator and raise the level or something like that. Then all of a sudden you blow your cover. So I like incognito. That's pretty fun. It might be a pain in the butt, especially if you got somebody incognito and you're forcing your other opponent to like, I got to go get close enough to Padme now. So hold on, my guys are running all over the place, So that's something that might happen. One thing I love is we have loadout. Loadout is specified. We know that Cassian and Iden Versio are going to have loadout, and basically, if they've got loadout, they can take, for every upgrade they take, they basically have a sidebar. They can have another upgrade that's optional. They choose at the beginning which one for each slot they're going to use, which is amazing, and it's also going to really complicate list building. It's going to really complicate list. All of those list builders out there are now going to have to come up with like a loadout, like the 2 options for each one. Now, here's the thing that helps keep the cost aspect balanced. Your other upgrade, your sidebar, has to be of equal or lower points. So basically, you charge. I mean, you can pick whichever 2 upgrades you want, but you're going to get charged against your list building for the most expensive one. So that makes sense. They also talk about the fact that loadout can also be shared if you have a counterpart, which is really cool because that makes me think Baze Malbus and Chirrut Imwe with loadout, right? Baze could have his staff, or he could have that blaster thing, right? Or I'm sorry, Chirrut could have his staff, or he could have the light bow, or maybe Baze has, the rocket launcher that he shot that big AT-AT with, or the AT-ACT with, or he could have his, his heavy Z6 times a million, so. Like I could see Baze and Chirrut doing the loadout thing. That would be really fun. Long shot's an interesting keyword because you can spend aim tokens to increase the range of your weapon. Which I'm wondering if that's what is on going to be on Echo, because I think for the clones for their for their special forces, for the ARC troopers, Echo, they talked about how Echo was going to have who's going to be more of a long range guy. And it wouldn't surprise me if he had Longshot X, because the cool thing about Longshot X is that it doesn't have a maximum range on there. It just says for every aim you spend during the form attack pool step, it may spend up to X aim tokens to increase the maximum range of a weapon with the Longshot X keyword by 1 for each token spent this way. No cap there. So if Echo's range is 3, you could go beyond range 5. You could outsnipe a sniper if you have 3 aim tokens. And the clones can generate that. The clones can just have it on other people, especially if you got Padme in there too. Like she can aim and then also do the double thing where she gets an aim and a dodge. And he's also like, all right, cool, I'm going to spend 3 aims. Boom, boom, boom. Now, if you spend the aims that way, you don't get to use them as rerolls. But with the clones and so the new stuff that they've got going on, you can easily outsnipe a sniper this way. So I love the idea of long shot because it's not something you'll be able to do every turn. It's really, I view this as counter sniper keyword, right? And if there aren't snipers, you can still poke a little bit, but you're not gonna consistently be able to get up to range 6 or range 7 or whatever. You can probably set up to do that like one important time, but outside of that, you're probably not going to be able to do it over and over again. So Longshot could really change the game more so than a lot of these other keywords. I view Longshot as being a really cool thing that will probably also be very, very restricted. If the clones get access to it, I'm going to be very happy because I have said before, I think Republic is going to be my primary faction moving forward. I'm still going to play every faction, but the Republic is going to be my favorite, especially once the Jedi come out. We do get the the keyword spelled out for Marksman. Marksman does do exactly what a lot of us thought it was going to do. It's going to upgrade a single roll from a blank to a hit, or from a hit to a crit. Surge doesn't factor in there, though. I wasn't sure if Surge was going to be a part of it or whatever, and that's about what people expected. Still, very, very cool and awesome keyword. I love the idea of being able to mitigate even a blank die into a guaranteed hit, which is super cool. So I like Marksman. Smoke grenades are changed a little bit. Let's talk about smoke. Because smoke, and I think some people, there was, PQRS. Let's go down. Smoke basically stacks now with smoke grenades. So 2 smoke grenades will give you heavy cover, which I didn't think it worked that way before. I'm pretty sure it was confirmed that it did not work that way before. And now smoke grenades, instead of just giving you a flat cover 1, it increases your cover by 1. So if you have a suppression and a smoke, you got heavy cover. If you got 2 smokes, you got double heavy cover. Which also means, let's see. Clouds of smoke on the battlefield can provide tactical cover to trooper units whose leader is at range 1 of a smoke token, improve their cover by 1. While a trooper unit is attacking, if the attacking unit leader is range 1 of a smoke unit, the defender improves their cover by 1. So again, you can also use this offensively if you want to like take R2 and get that free smoke token, if you want to drop that in front of enemies. So the fact that now it stacks makes smoke tokens a little bit better. Maybe you're a little bit more likely to actually take smoke grenades now, but the fact that they still cost an action makes me still say probably not. But the fact that they're better means it might be worth exploring some more opportunities to use smoke token. I still want a grenadier with multiple grenade slots with speed 3. I think that would be really fun. I don't know if they'll do it. I would love to see some, especially if you give them a really bad offensive weapon. Make it to where you want to get them to attack with their grenades. That would be, and give them arsenal. Maybe they get no primary gun, and their only ranged weapon can be the grenades that they take. Oh, that sounds like an episode for the Double Critical, the new show I'm looking to run. All right. Anyway, all right. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about what else is there. Strafe. Strafe is talked about. We've got Strafe, and Strafe is in here also, and basically it just specifies that it's not a standard move and is handled a lot like how a rear would be moving. And you have to have hover to do Strafe, so it gives you all of that. A little bit about the supply deck as well. And there's a whole lot more in the rules reference, but that's basically it. And that's basically everything that jumped out at me that I wanted to talk about. I know I've been talking for a while, so I'm going to kind of wind this video down and let you guys get on with your day. I want to thank you for hanging out with me. Let me scroll back up to the top. This goes into effect the 28th of February. So if you've got a Prime coming up in the next couple of days, you might be just in time. The 28th actually is on a Friday. So if you're watching this, and I don't think anybody's having a Prime in the middle of the week. Most Primes tend to be on Saturdays or Sundays. So yeah, you're probably going to be beholden to this right away. So yeah, that's about it, guys. I want to thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for hanging out with me. And thanks to everybody for all the kind words and well wishes. I definitely appreciate all of the support from the community. You guys have been kind of overwhelming for me, and it means a lot. So thank you very much. And I will talk to you later. So be sure to enter to win that giveaway. Big thanks to patrons. You guys are amazing. Thank you for your continued support. And if you're interested in helping support the channel, there are links in the description below. I want to thank you all so much for watching. And as always, have a great day.